Think about the last person you were genuinely drawn to. Not just attracted to in passing. I mean someone who occupied your thoughts, someone you kept coming back to, someone who made you feel alive in a way that is hard to explain. Now ask yourself honestly, were they good for you? For a lot of people, the answer is no. And what is strange about that is that you knew it. Maybe you knew it early. Maybe your friends told you. Maybe some part of you could see exactly where it was heading, and you went there anyway. Why does that happen? Why do intelligent, self-aware people repeatedly find themselves drawn to the exact kind of person who will hurt them? Is it weakness? Is it a character flaw? Is it just bad luck? No, it is psychology. And today, I want to show you 3 myths about attraction that most people carry without even realizing it. Myths that are quietly running your love life from the background. Because once you understand what is actually happening inside your brain when you feel that pull, everything changes. You do not stop feeling attraction. You just stop being controlled by it. Let us start with the first one. We have heard this our entire lives. In movies, in songs, in the stories we tell about romance. The free-spirited artist falls for the uptight lawyer. The quiet introvert is swept off their feet by the life of the party. We romanticize the idea that 2 completely different people can collide and create something extraordinary. And a lot of us have felt that. That pull towards someone who is nothing like you, and told ourselves it must mean something. Here is the truth. Decades of research in social psychology consistently show the opposite. We are drawn to people who reflect us, our values, our background, our sense of humor, even our communication style. This is called the similarity attraction effect, and it is one of the most replicated findings in all of relationship science. A landmark study by psychologist Don Byrne showed that the more similar 2 people were in their attitudes and beliefs, the more they liked each other, almost mathematically. Not just in early dating, but over the long term, similarity predicts relationship satisfaction far better than difference ever does. So where does the opposites attract feeling come from? It comes from novelty. Your brain has a powerful reward response to things that are new and unexpected. It releases dopamine. And someone who is completely unlike you is, neurologically speaking, very interesting. That is not chemistry. That is your brain lighting up for a new stimulus. The problem is that novelty wears off. It always does. After a few months, the excitement fades, and what you are left with is 2 people who genuinely have very little in common, and no shared foundation to build on. What felt like electricity at the start slowly becomes friction, and not the interesting kind. The third myth sounds like wisdom. It gets repeated by therapists, by self-help books, by well-meaning friends. And it is this: when you meet the right person, it will just feel right. Trust your gut. Follow that pull. And sometimes that is true. But for many people, maybe most people, following that gut feeling leads them directly back to the same type of person, the same dynamic, the same outcome, over and over again. And they cannot understand why. Here is what your gut is actually doing. Your nervous system is not searching for what is good for you. It is searching for what is familiar. And those 2 things are not the same. Attachment theory, developed by psychologist John Bowlby and later expanded by Mary Ainsworth, tells us that the relational patterns we experience in childhood become the template for how we experience love as adults. If you grew up with a parent who was emotionally inconsistent, warm sometimes, withdrawn other times, loving but unpredictable, your nervous system learned to associate love with that feeling, with the uncertainty, with the need to earn affection, with the quiet anxiety of never quite knowing where you stand. So when you meet someone who is genuinely available, emotionally consistent, and clear about how they feel, It does not feel electric. It feels flat, boring even. Your nervous system does not recognize it as love because love, in your early experience, was never that calm. But when you meet someone who is a little distant, a little hard to read, a little unavailable, something lights up. It feels like chemistry. It feels like this is the one. But what you are actually feeling is recognition. Your brain is saying, I know this pattern. I know how to move through this. This is home. The problem is that home, for many of us, was not a particularly safe place, and your nervous system never got the memo that you were allowed to want something different. This is not a flaw. This is not weakness. This is your brain doing exactly what brains are designed to do, seeking the familiar, because familiarity once meant survival. The work is in learning to update that equation. So here is what I want you to take from this. The goal is not to stop feeling attraction. You cannot turn that off, and you would not want to. The goal is to understand where your attraction is coming from. When you feel that pull toward someone, pause. Ask yourself, is this because we genuinely connect, or because something about them feels familiar in a way I have never examined? Is this intensity love, or is it an unpredictable reward schedule my brain cannot walk away from? Does this feel right because it is right, or because it matches a pattern I learned before I was old enough to choose it? Those questions are not comfortable, but they are the beginning of something important. Because the moment you see the mechanism, you stop being a passenger in your own love life. You start making actual choices, and that changes everything. I would love to hear from you. Which of these 3 myths have you believed the longest? Leave it in the comments. I read every single one. And if this video gave you something to think about, subscribe. There is a lot more coming.